There's something about driving at night that changes a person. The road feels different, the world feels smaller, quieter. Like everything that exists has shrunk down to the narrow tunnel your headlights can reach. I used to love it, before that night. This happened last winter, sometime in early December. I had just left a small city after visiting an old friend from college. We hadn't seen each other in years, and the reunion ran longer than I planned. By the time I finally got on the road, it was close to midnight. My route home required cutting through a long stretch of state highway that ran between two mountain ranges. It wasn't a dangerous road, just isolated, no major towns, no rest stops open past 10 p.m., spotty cell service, but I'd driven it dozens of times before. I wasn't worried, at least not then. The first hour was completely normal. The radio hummed quietly. My headlights swept across empty asphalt. Occasionally, a reflective road sign would flash bright white before disappearing behind me. There were almost no other vehicles, maybe one pair of headlights every 15 or 20 minutes. I remember checking my fuel gauge, just under half a tank, more than enough to make it home. Around 1:07 a.m. I passed the last lit gas station before the mountain pass. It was closed, dark. Empty parking lot. After that the road narrowed, trees grew thicker on both sides, the sky seemed darker, and the temperature dropped. I adjusted the heater slightly and leaned back in my seat, letting the monotony settle in. That's when I noticed the first strange thing. The car behind me headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. Not unusual. What was unusual was how suddenly they appeared. 1 second my mirror showed nothing but darkness. The next, two bright beams, close, too close. I frowned, instinctively glancing at my speedometer. 65 mph, well within limit. The vehicle behind me didn't attempt to pass. It didn't flash its brights, it just stayed there. Perfectly centered behind me, I switched lanes briefly at a passing zone to give them room. They didn't move. Instead, they matched my lane change. That's when I felt the first flicker of unease. I slowed slightly, they slowed. I sped up a little, they did too, not aggressively, just synchronized. After about 10 minutes of this, I decided to test something. I turned on my blinker as if I were going to pull onto a gravel turnout ahead. The car behind me immediately turned its blinker on too. But when I passed the turnout without stopping, their blinker clicked off. They never changed lanes, never passed. They were reacting to me, not driving independently. No license plate. Curiosity turned into discomfort. I adjusted my mirror, trying to get a better look at the vehicle. It looked like a dark sedan, maybe black or deep blue, hard to tell in the dark. The headlights were slightly dimmer than normal, almost yellowish. As we hit a slight downhill curve, the angle shifted enough for me to see the front grille, and something else. There was no front license plate. That in itself wasn't illegal in some states, but the back. As we passed a reflective road sign, I caught a glimpse of the rear. Nothing, no visible plate. Just a smooth, dark surface where one should have been. My stomach tightened. I told myself I was being paranoid, probably just a plate light out, or dirt covering it. Still. The car didn't feel normal. The disappearance, then without warning the headlights vanished. Not gradually, not turning off, just gone. I blinked, checked my mirrors again. Nothing, no car. No tail lights fading into the distance. No engine sound passing me, just empty road. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. There hadn't been any side roads, no turnoffs, no driveways. The nearest exit was at least 10 miles back. There was nowhere for that car to go, yet it was gone. I slowed down, scanning both sides of the highway, pitch black forest, silent. After about 30 seconds of searching my mirrors, I convinced myself I must have missed something. Maybe it had turned off its headlights briefly. Maybe it dropped back far enough to disappear into darkness. That explanation felt weak, but it was better than the alternative. I exhaled slowly and kept driving. The radio static. About 5 minutes later, my radio cut out. Mid-song, dead silence, then static. Loud, harsh. I reached to adjust the dial. Before I could, the static shifted. It wasn't random noise. It sounded almost rhythmic, like interference trying to form words. I turned the volume down, but it didn't lower. The sound stayed at the same intensity. That's when I noticed something else. My dashboard clock, 1:32 a.m. I glanced at it again a moment later, still 1:32. The seconds weren't moving. The entire display was frozen, yet the car was still driving, engine humming normally. Speedometer working, but the time had stopped. I felt my throat go dry, and that's when the headlights came back, not behind me, in front of me, facing me, on the wrong side of the road. About 100 yards ahead, stationary, blocking the lane, the headlights ahead didn't move. They just stared at me, bright, unblinking, wrong side of the road. My foot instinctively lifted off the accelerator. The car began to slow. The forest around me felt tighter now, closer, like the trees had leaned in while I wasn't looking. The radio static was still screaming through the speakers. I hit the power button. Nothing, it wouldn't turn off. The headlights ahead flickered once, then went dark. Complete blackness swallowed the road in front of me. Only my own headlights remained. I hesitated. There was no vehicle there now, no obstacle, just empty asphalt. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it over the static. Okay, I muttered to myself, you're tired, that's all. Maybe exhaustion was playing tricks on me. Maybe I imagined it. I kept driving. The turn that wasn't there before, about 2 miles later, I saw something that made my chest tighten again. A road sign, yellow, reflective. I was sure I had driven this highway many times. I knew every curve, every warning sign, but this one I had never seen before. It read, detour next right. There shouldn't have been a detour. There hadn't been construction, no closures reported. I slowed again. My GPS screen was still on, but it was blank, no map, just a gray grid and a blinking blue dot frozen in place. The clock still read 1:32 a.m. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing behind me, too empty, unnaturally empty. Up ahead I saw the right turn, a narrow road branching off into darkness, no streetlights, no reflectors. Just a thin strip of asphalt disappearing between trees. The main highway continued straight, no barricade, no cones, no actual sign of construction, just that one detour sign. My gut screamed not to take it, so I kept going straight. The loop 5 minutes passed, 10, 15, the forest never thinned. The road never curved toward the mountain pass like it normally would. Instead, another sign appeared. Yellow, reflective, detour next right. My breathing became shallow. This was impossible. There should not be another detour sign, not in the middle of this stretch, and yet there it was again. Same font, same angle, same slight dent on the top right corner. It was the same sign. The same exact sign. I felt cold all over. Had I somehow looped back? There hadn't been any turns, no exits, no intersections, just one straight highway, but the sign was identical. Even the small scratch across the letter T in detour was there. I didn't realize I was shaking until my hand slipped slightly on the steering wheel. I checked my odometer. It was moving. But slowly, too slowly, like the numbers were dragging. I swallowed hard. This time I decided to take the right turn. Off the highway, the moment my tires crossed onto the smaller road, something changed. The radio static stopped, instantly, complete silence. The dashboard clock flickered. 1:32 changed to 1:33. The seconds started ticking again. Relief washed over me so quickly it almost made me dizzy. See, I whispered, it was just a glitch. The narrow road felt older, cracked pavement, faded lines. The trees here were thicker, branches hung lower, like claws reaching over the road. After about a mile I noticed something ahead. Red lights, brake lights, a car, parked in the middle of the road. Engine running, I slowed carefully. It was the same dark sedan, no license plate. The driver's door was open, but no one was inside. The interior light was on, illuminating an empty seat. I felt every instinct telling me to turn around, but curiosity pulled harder. I stopped about 30 feet behind it. My headlights flooded the sedan's interior, still empty. The driver's door slowly creaked further open. I hadn't seen it move, but it was wider now. The forest was silent, no wind, no insects, nothing. And then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There were muddy footprints leading away from the sedan, into the trees, and they were fresh, wet, shiny in my headlights. But here's what froze me in place. The footprints weren't coming from the driver's seat. They were leading to it, from the forest. As if something had walked out of the woods, gotten into the car, and driven behind me. My entire body went numb, because slowly, very slowly, the brake lights of the sedan turned off. The interior light flickered, and the engine sound stopped, but I had never seen anyone get back inside. The car was dead, empty, completely still. My own headlights began to dim, just slightly. Like something was draining power. I tried starting my engine again even though it was already running. The ignition made a weak clicking noise. The trees around me seemed taller now, closer. And from somewhere deep in the forest I heard it, a slow crunch, like someone stepping on gravel, behind my car, not in front, behind. I didn't check, I didn't want to see. Another crunch, closer. Then another, deliberate, measured steps, coming toward my driver's side door. My breath became shallow. I stared straight ahead at the empty sedan, and in its dark windshield I saw movement. Not inside it, reflected, behind me, something tall, standing just outside my back bumper, too tall, its head slightly tilted. Watching, and then my driver's side door handle twitched just once. As if someone tested it, the door handle twitched again, longer this time, a slow pull, metal slightly bending under pressure. I couldn't breathe. My hand instinctively slammed down on the lock button. Click, locked, another pull, harder. The entire car shifted slightly from the force. Whatever was outside wasn't human. No normal person pulls a car door like that. I forced myself not to look in the mirror. If I saw it clearly, it would become real. The handle stopped moving. Silence, then a slow, dragging sound. Along the side of my car, from the back bumper toward my driver window, something sharp scraping across metal. My headlights flickered again. The battery gauge dipped. The air inside the car felt colder, colder than outside, and then the scraping stopped right beside my window. I could feel it there, standing inches away, watching me through the glass. I kept staring straight ahead. Don't look, don't acknowledge it, don't react. That's when I remembered something strange, the footprints. They had led from the forest to the sedan. Not from the sedan to the forest, meaning whatever this thing was, it hadn't come with the car. It had been waiting for someone to drive through, waiting for me. My breathing was shaky now. My hands trembling against the wheel, then a soft tap on the glass, not aggressive, not violent, just tap, 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 like polite knocking. My heart nearly exploded. And before I could stop myself, I looked. The reflection at first, I saw nothing, just my own terrified face reflected back at me. But then behind my reflection, something shifted. It was tall. Too tall to be standing upright beside the car without bending. Its head tilted slightly sideways, as if confused or curious. Its face, there wasn't one. Just smooth darkness where features should be. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, just a blank surface that absorbed the light. The thing raised one long arm and slowly placed its hand flat against my window. The glass frosted instantly where it touched, like ice spreading outward. My heater blasted warm air, but it did nothing. The frost crept across the entire window in seconds. I couldn't see it anymore, only white ice. Then the tapping returned, but this time it wasn't from outside, it was from inside the car. Behind me, back seat, 3 soft taps. I turned around instantly. Nothing, empty seat, but the fabric of the backrest was slightly indented, like something invisible was leaning forward. My vision blurred, my ears rang. The dashboard clock flickered again. 1:33, then 1:32, then 1:31. Time was moving backward. No, 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 no. The engine died. Complete silence, total darkness. Headlights off, dashboard off, everything off. I was sitting in a dead car on a forgotten road with something outside, and possibly something inside. The breathing in the pitch black, I heard it. Breathing, slow, deep, right behind my head. Warm air brushed against my ear. I couldn't move. My body refused. Every muscle locked. The breathing grew closer. Then a whisper, not loud. Not aggressive, just barely audible. You shouldn't have taken the turn. The voice didn't sound male or female. It sounded layered, like multiple tones speaking at once. My eyes filled with tears. I didn't have a choice, I whispered. Silence. Then the breathing stopped. Complete nothingness. Seconds passed, or minutes, I don't know. Suddenly, the headlights flicked back on. Engine roared to life. Radio resumed playing the same song from earlier, like nothing had happened. I gasped. The sedan in front of me, gone. The narrow road, gone. I was back on the main highway. Driving 65 mph, alone. My dashboard clock read 2:17 a.m. Nearly an hour had passed. I checked my mirrors. Empty road, no dark sedan, no forest road, no detour sign, just endless highway. I pulled over immediately, hands shaking violently. I stepped out of the car. The air felt normal, cold but real. I walked to my driver's side door. There, 5 long scratch marks, deep, carved into the metal from back to front, like something had dragged claws along it. My stomach dropped because the scratches weren't random. They formed letters, very rough, very uneven. But readable. They spelled turn back. A car suddenly passed me on the highway, making me jump. Its headlights were normal. Its driver glanced at me briefly as they drove by, completely unaware. Normal world, normal road, everything normal, except my car, except the scratches, except the fact that my odometer showed I had driven 47 extra miles. Miles that don't exist on that stretch of highway. And then my phone buzzed. No signal bars, yet a notification appeared. Unknown number, 1 text message. It said, next time don't ignore the sign. I looked up slowly. Ahead of me, about half a mile down, I saw it again. Yellow, reflective, standing alone on the roadside. Detour next right, and this time it wasn't pointing right, it was pointing directly at me. The sign was pointing at me, not right, not left, at me. The arrow had shifted. No wind, no movement. Just silently rotated. I stood beside my car on the empty highway, heart hammering in my chest. The world felt thinner, like reality itself was stretched too tight. My phone buzzed again. No signal bars, another message, unknown number. You passed the exit twice. My throat went dry. I never passed an exit, there wasn't any. I slowly got back into my car, locked the doors. Started the engine, it turned over normally, too normally. The scratches were still there on the door, so this wasn't a hallucination. This wasn't exhaustion. This was happening. I pulled back onto the highway. This time I decided something different. If I see the sign again, I'm turning back, not right back. 5 minutes past 10. Then, there it was again. Detour next right, but the arrow wasn't pointing right. It wasn't pointing at me. It was pointing backward, directly behind the sign, toward the direction I had already come from. A cold realization hit me. There was no right direction anymore. Forward, backward, left, right, they didn't matter. The highway wasn't behaving like a road. It was behaving like a loop, a trap. The realization my headlights flickered once, just once, and for a split second the trees weren't trees. They were silhouettes, tall, motionless, standing between real trees, watching. Hundreds of them, and then the headlights stabilized, normal forest again. I felt panic rising in waves. This wasn't random. This wasn't just one creature. This was something bigger. Something built into this place, like the road itself was alive. I slammed the brakes hard, the tires screeched. I turned the steering wheel sharply, U-turn. I drove back the way I came. Faster this time, 80 mph, the speedometer needle shaking. The road blurred, the forest stretched endlessly. Then I saw headlights in my rearview mirror, following me, far back. But keeping perfect distance. No matter how fast I drove, it matched my speed. Not gaining, not falling behind, just there, watching. I slowed suddenly. The headlights slowed too. I accelerated hard. They accelerated, my breathing turned erratic. "Stop following me," I shouted into the empty car. The radio turned on by itself, static, then a familiar layered voice. "You are still on the turn." My stomach dropped. What does that even mean? Static, then "you never left." The headlights behind me flickered once and vanished, gone, like they were never there. The glitch suddenly, everything went quiet, too quiet. The engine sound dulled, the road texture changed. I looked down, the asphalt wasn't asphalt anymore. It looked smooth, unnaturally smooth. Like black glass, my headlights reflected perfectly on it. I wasn't driving on a road, I was driving on a surface, flat, featureless, endless, the trees gone, the forest gone. Just darkness beyond the reach of my headlights, and the road, if it was even a road. The dashboard clock blinked. 2:17 a.m., 2:17 a.m., 2:17 a.m., frozen again. The radio whispered, "Choose." My steering wheel began to resist my hands, pulling slightly right, then left, then right again, as if something unseen was trying to guide it, or test me. "Choose what?" I yelled. The surface ahead began to split, two faint lines forming in the darkness, two possible paths, left path slightly dimmer, right path slightly brighter. Both leading into black void, no signs, no markings, just choice. The voice returned. "You ignored the sign." My mind raced. The first time I ignored it and stayed straight. The second time I took the turn, both led me here, so maybe the choice wasn't about direction, maybe it was about intention. I gripped the wheel tighter, closed my eyes for 1 second. Then whispered, "I'm not choosing fear," and I drove straight ahead, between both faint paths, directly into the center darkness. For 3 full seconds there was nothing, no sound, no motion. No feeling, like falling without falling. Then impact, light exploded around me. I gasped and slammed on the brakes. The return, I was back, real asphalt, real forest, real highway lines. The mountain pass ahead, familiar, normal. My clock read 2:46 a.m. I checked my rearview mirror. Nothing, no headlights, no void, no silhouettes, just empty highway. Tears rolled down my face without me realizing. I laughed weakly. It's over. I kept driving. 20 more minutes. The first sign of civilization appeared. A gas station in the distance, lights on. Open. I pulled in immediately, parked, turned off the engine. Silence felt safe again. I stepped out of the car. The air smelled normal. Gasoline, cold night wind, real. I walked toward the store entrance, but stopped halfway, because on the glass door there was a reflection behind me, tall, head tilted, standing near my car. I spun around, nothing there, empty lot. I looked back at the glass, the reflection was gone. Inside the store, the cashier looked at me strangely. "Long drive?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "What time do you close?" I asked. He frowned. "We've been closed for 20 minutes. My blood ran cold. "But the lights are on." He looked confused. "Sir, the power's been out since midnight." I slowly turned around. The store lights flickered. Buzzed and shut off, complete darkness. Outside, the yellow glow of a roadside sign illuminated through the window, even without power, even without electricity. It read "Detour next right," and the arrow was pointing inside the store. The store went completely dark, not dim, not flickering, dead. The cashier was gone. 1 second he was there. Next second, empty counter, empty store. The refrigerators stopped humming. The door behind me slowly creaked shut on its own. I didn't touch it. Outside, that sign, glowing without power. Detour next, right, the arrow pointing inside, at me. My reflection appeared faintly in the dark glass, but it wasn't matching my movements. I raised my hand slowly. My reflection stayed still. Then it smiled. I didn't. Cold spread through my chest like ice water. The reflection tilted its head, same unnatural angle as the thing on the road. Then it spoke, but not out loud, inside my head. You are still driving. My breathing became sharp and uneven. No, I stopped. You never stopped. The floor beneath me vibrated slightly, like an engine running. A low hum filled the air. And suddenly I understood. I was never at the gas station. I was never outside my car. I was still on that black surface, still inside the turn. Everything after the second detour, a construct. A test, a loop. The reflection stepped forward, out of the glass. Into the store. It was tall, featureless, smooth, dark surface where a face should be, but this time I could see faint impressions. Like shadows of eyes forming beneath the surface. It walked toward me slowly, each step silent. You ignored the first warning. It raised one long arm. You chose curiosity. Second step. You chose fear. Third step. You chose defiance. It stopped inches away. And now you must choose truth. The store walls began dissolving, melting into darkness, the shelves bending. The ceiling stretching upward infinitely, the world collapsing back into that endless black surface road. I was sitting in the driver's seat again, hands on the wheel, engine humming. Clock stuck at 1:32 a.m., the detour sign ahead, same as the very beginning, like nothing had progressed, except this time I remembered everything, every loop, every scratch, every whisper. The voice spoke one last time, right and you remain, left and you return, straight and you understand. 3 faint paths appeared again, left, right, straight. My hands were shaking. If I go right, I stay trapped. If I go left, I wake up but forget. If I go straight, I learn the truth. But what if the truth isn't survivable? My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. No signal. One final message: most drivers choose left. I swallowed hard. I wasn't most drivers. I tightened my grip and I drove straight. The truth: the moment I crossed into the center path, everything shattered, like glass breaking in slow motion. Fragments of road, fragments of trees, fragments of sky, all dissolving, and I saw it. The highway wasn't a highway, it was a corridor, a thin space between realities. The detour sign wasn't a warning, it was a doorway. The thing wasn't hunting me, it was guiding, testing who notices, who questions, who refuses default choices. And then I saw them, hundreds of cars, frozen mid-drive, drivers staring forward blankly, eyes empty. They chose right, they stayed. They became part of the corridor. Then I saw flashes of others, drivers who chose left, waking up in their beds, calling it a nightmare, forgetting within hours. And then there were very few like me. Those who chose straight, they weren't trapped, they weren't free either. They were aware, standing outside the corridor, watching it, guarding it. The tall entity stood beside me now. No longer threatening, it tilted its head one last time. You see, the fear was gone, replaced with something else: clarity, understanding. The highway at 1:32 a.m. is a seam in the world. And sometimes it tests who is ready to see beyond it. My car dissolved beneath me. The road faded, the forest vanished, and I was standing on the shoulder of the real highway, engine off. Early dawn light breaking over the mountains, birds chirping, normal, peaceful. My phone showed 5:58 a.m., 4.5 hours gone, no scratches on the car, no sign on the road, no detour. Just morning. I got back inside slowly, turned the ignition. It started normally. As I began driving home, I glanced once in the rearview mirror. For just a split second, I saw it sitting in the back seat, not menacing, not hostile, just watching, and then it faded. The radio turned on softly, clear signal, no static. A calm voice from the station said, "Road conditions are clear this morning." I smiled faintly. They are, unless you drive at 1:32 a.m. and unless you notice the sign.